You feel the rotor wash flatten the elephant grass around you. Hot, wet air screaming past your helmet as the jungle floor drops away. Through the plexiglass bubble, you see nothing but green chaos until the radio crackles. Guns hot. Then you watch it materialize from the tree line. A predator with a spine of steel and a chin full of death. The AH-1 Cobra doesn't fly, it hunts. What you're about to witness is how a mercy bird from Korean rice paddies evolved into the deadliest thing the jungle ever feared, and how the Cold War taught every nation on Earth to build their own mechanical nightmare. Chapter 1. The Mercy Birds. You're crouched in a Korean rice paddy, and the water is turning red. The man next to you took shrapnel across his chest, ragged metal from a Chinese mortar that landed close enough to throw mud in your face. He's making sounds you'll never forget, wet, gasping sounds, and his hands are slick as you try to hold the field dressing against the wounds. The winter wind cuts through your fatigues, and you know he's got maybe 20 minutes before shock takes him completely. Then you hear it, a distant whoop 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 that doesn't sound like any aircraft you know. You look up, and there it is, a Sikorsky H-5 dropping out of the gray sky like some kind of dragonfly made of aluminum and plexiglass. The rotor wash kicks up freezing spray as it hovers 3 feet off the paddy, and you realize the pilot can see you waving, see the blood spreading across your buddy's jacket. The thing is barely bigger than a car. This bulbous glass canopy with a single radial engine wheezing behind the cockpit, and it looks about as combat-ready as a soap bubble, but it lands anyway. You and another rifleman drag the wounded man toward it, boots sucking in the mud, while the medic already on board reaches down to help haul him into the external litter pods strapped to the sides. The H-5 doesn't have room inside for casualties, just the pilot and maybe one other person squeezed into that greenhouse cockpit. So the wounded ride exposed to the elements in canvas stretchers bolted to the fuselage, strapped in like cargo, completely vulnerable to ground fire during the entire flight back to the Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. The helicopter lifts off with a shuddering whine, nose dipping forward as it accelerates away, and you watch it disappear toward the rear lines. Your hands are still shaking. The whole thing took maybe 90 seconds. This is 1951, and what you just witnessed is something the world has never seen before. A rotary wing aircraft pulling wounded soldiers directly from the front line, cutting evacuation time from hours to minutes. The Sikorsky H-5, with its ridiculous 450 horsepower Pratt & Whitney radial engine and its maximum speed of barely 100 miles per hour, is saving lives at a rate that's rewriting combat medicine. Survival rates for critically wounded soldiers are jumping from 50% to nearly 90%, because now you can get a man from the firefight to the surgeon's table before he bleeds out in a truck bouncing down a mountain road. You'll see the H-5's little brother too, the Bell H-13 Sioux with its even more exposed bubble cockpit and those distinctive skid landing gear. It looks like a training helicopter, something a flight school would use to teach basics. But out here, it's performing miracles. The H-13's got that unmistakable profile, that fishbowl canopy where you can see the pilot's entire body, the exposed tail boom, the fragile-looking struts. It maxes out at maybe 105 miles per hour, carries 2 litter patients externally, and has absolutely zero protection from anything. No armor, no weapons, just a pilot with nerves of steel dropping into hot landing zones to extract the dying. These aren't attack helicopters. They're not even armed. They're mercy birds. And every grunt on the line knows their silhouette by heart, because that silhouette means someone's going home, alive. The Sikorsky R-4 Hoverfly came before them in the last days of World War II. The world's first mass-produced helicopter, used mostly for reconnaissance and the occasional daring rescue in the Burma jungle. But it's here in Korea, where the concept proves itself under fire, where the helicopter stops being an experimental curiosity and becomes essential. Chapter 2. The Chickasaw Revolution. You're standing in a clearing outside Saigon, 1962, and the heat is already murderous at 0600 hours. Your squad, 11 men with M14S and enough ammunition to make your rucksack feel like it's full of bricks, is waiting for your ride. You've done air assaults before, but those involved fixed-wing aircraft dropping you far from the objective. then a long march through terrain that wants to kill you as much as the enemy does. Today is different. The sound reaches you first, a deeper, more powerful thrum than those little medevac birds. Then you see it cutting across the tree line, a Sikorsky H-19 Chickasaw, and it's massive compared to what you're used to. The thing is a flying boxcar with a bulbous nose and a radial engine mounted up high, above and behind the cockpit. The whole front section looks pregnant, swollen, like someone inflated a normal helicopter until it could swallow men whole. It flares hard, and the rotor wash nearly knocks you backward. Dust and loose vegetation explode outward in a brown cloud that stings your eyes and fills your mouth with grit. The crew chief is already at the side door, waving you forward, shouting something you can't hear over the right R1300 engine, screaming at full power. You run, doubled over even though the rotors are 10 feet above your head. Instinct tells you to stay small near spinning metal. Inside it's dark and loud and smells like hydraulic fluid and hot metal. You pile in with your squad, sitting on canvas seats along the walls, knee to knee with the guy across from you. The cabin can fit 10 of you, maybe 12 if you pack tight. There's actually room to stand up in here, room to move, and that's revolutionary. The crew chief slams the door shut, smacks the bulkhead twice, and the Chickasaw lurches into the air with a stomach-dropping shudder. You're airborne, really airborne, with your entire squad, not hanging off the side in a litter, not crammed into some external cargo rack. You're inside an aircraft that can pick you up from base camp and drop you directly into the fight. And the whole concept is rewriting infantry doctrine in real time. Through the small window, you can see Vietnam sliding past below, endless green punctuated by brown rivers and rice paddies that look like shattered mirrors reflecting the sky. The Chickasaw is hauling you at maybe 100 miles per hour, and the ride is rough, every air pocket making the whole airframe buck and shudder. The engine noise is a constant roar that makes thinking difficult. You're flying at 1,500 feet, high enough that small arms fire is mostly ineffective. But you're very aware that this thing has 0 armor and 0 defensive weapons. The crew chief holds up 5 fingers. 5 minutes. Your stomach tightens. You check your rifle again, even though you checked it 3 times already. The guy next to you is gripping his weapon so hard, his knuckles are white. This is the first time in human history that an entire infantry squad can be plucked from one location and inserted directly into combat within minutes. And you're riding the machine that made it possible. The H-19 banks hard, and through the window you see the landing zone, a clearing maybe 50 meters across, surrounded by jungle that could hide anything. The helicopter descends fast, dropping like an elevator with a cut cable, and your ears pop from the pressure change. You hear the tone of the engine change as the pilot flares, bleeding off speed, and then there's a thump as the wheels hit earth. The crew chief throws the door open and screams, "Go, go, go!" And you're running before your brain catches up. Boots hitting tall grass, spreading out automatically into a defensive perimeter, while the Chickasaw spools up behind you. It lifts off in a tornado of noise and dust, leaving your squad alone in hostile territory. And you can still hear its rotors fading into the distance as you realize just how quiet the jungle suddenly is. The H-19 Chickasaw just changed warfare. It proved the concept. An entire infantry squad, combat loaded with weapons and ammunition, delivered directly to the battlefield by a single helicopter. No parachutes, no long approach marches that telegraph your arrival, just rapid insertion that gives you the element of surprise, assuming the landing zone isn't hot.